Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, episode 75. I'm your host, Griffin Aldridge. Alongside me, we have Andrew Quinn and Tommy Martinotti, and we are back with another week. The Boston Celtics looked solid at times, I will say. They had a good week. And I just really quick wanted to hear your guys' initial thoughts over the whole week. I mean, the Boston Celtics lost to the Rockets, they lost to the Jazz, and then they ended up beating the 76ers and the Wizards. So went 2-2. I think I predicted 3-1. Andrew, I think you predicted 2-2. So you're kind of like on the same board with that around that. You won the prediction, but good week. How are we feeling, you guys? And we'll start off with you, Tommy.
I think it was an okay week. Just looking from a fan perspective, I think we all knew that Houston game was going to be the toughest game of the week. Second night of a back-to-back against a very good Houston team, a lot of length, a lot of size, something that the Celtics struggled going against. So I didn't really expect them to win that game. I did want to see it to be a little more competitive, of course, but I knew that was going to be a tough game against a good Houston team. I thought the Philly game was their best game of the week. In Philly, you really got why can't I think of the word? You got contributions from everybody on the team. You saw Jaylen Brown continue to step up and take that 1A spot and really just take advantage of switches that he was getting onto the smaller guards for Philly. So that Philly game was a great sign. And then the Utah game was really the most disappointing game of the week. That was a game that pretty much I'd say all fans expected the Celtics to win that. Definitely get those two against Utah and Washington were the two easiest games that I thought the Celtics would have gotten over the past week, but they had that slip up against Utah, tried making a late comeback in the fourth quarter, a few bad calls from the ref, again, a lack of rebounding on the defensive end, leading to a game-winning shot for Nurkic, but they did bounce back against a not so talented Washington team, which was, of course, good to see after a very rough first quarter. So it was good to kind of see Minot get back on track with his scoring ability and his lob throw ability, getting out in transition, getting easier looks. Pritchard had a great night last night. We're still looking to see Derek White kind of find his rhythm. But I thought it was a solid week from the Celtics. I think as fans, we had some realizing to do after that Utah loss where we might see some of these losses to not great teams that we aren't used to seeing over these past few years. But it was a solid week. I think I learned a lot about this team, and we might see a lot more up and downs throughout the season. But, that's what makes a season exciting, and we'll see the adjustments that they make moving forward.
Yeah, what about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I agree. Solid week. Nothing that raise an eyebrow or gets you fired up for the season. It's just one of those weeks that it's just kind of even. In my opinion, this week has shown you more about the Celtics team, unfortunately, in more of a negative way than positive in my eyes. I think we're going to talk about it later in the podcast, but I do think this team is more in my eyes middle of the road, kind of bottom half of the standings. From what I've seen this week, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. This team, from a talent standpoint, is just not as competitive in comparison to other teams, and I think that we have been shown this. I think the Rockets, in particular, that game, it was just from the jump. We just got outplayed. Not to say that we can't compete with them, not to say we can't steal a game from them or beat teams of their caliber, but the way we were just straight up dominated, in my opinion, shows to me that this team, from a talent standpoint, it's on another level. It's on a different level than teams like the Rockets and teams, like the Thunder. And those games are going to be tough for us. They're going to take everything, small margin of error. You really have to do everything perfectly against those teams. And I just think that game showed us where the Celtics are at. And then a game like Utah, losing that game is a tough loss. It's frustrating because in the past we've seen Celtics teams dominate those games. But that's something that, as Tommy said, is just going to be common. It's going to be a little more typical of this team because like I said, this team can be beaten, in my opinion, by most teams. And so every game you have to give your best. And if you're not, there's going to be times when teams can take advantage of that. So that's my opinion. I think the highlight of this stretch has been Jaylen Brown, though. The way he's been able to perform at an extremely high level, averaging nearly 30 points right now. I mean, that is something to be excited about. It's something to be positive about. And he's just playing at a really high level right now. And Celtics fans, the Celtics organization wanted that. They needed that, and he's doing exactly what we're asking for of him, and even more. In total honesty.
Yeah, I agree, and I like what you said. It was kind of a midweek, and we're not the best team. We're 4-5. It's kind of where we win one, we lose one. That's kind of the rhythm. What it's been pretty much this season, and it's been rough. But the first question I want to ask you guys is: Jordan Walsh played a significant amount of minutes last night. He played 24, had 7 points, 7 rebounds last night against the Washington Wizards. And I know that's kind of a team where you kind of push them under the rug, get some guys some experience and kind of don't really look at that one as, all right, this could be a game where if, one of our bench players do good, they're going to be a star player, because that's not the case. It's the Wizards, and we got to talk with that. But I do have a question. And I think either David or Tommy said it last night, but Jordan Walsh, do we see him have more minutes? And I think you said this, Tommy. And my question is, will Jordan Walsh take over the minutes that Baylor Shireman has been given? And what are your guys' thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on the development of Jordan Walsh? Are we going to see more development of him this year? What are we going to see with Jordan Walsh?
I think after seeing last night's game and his first real opportunity of getting some important minutes, he took full advantage of that. I think his size and athleticism just brings more to the table for this team compared to Shireman. I think Walsh can guard pretty much 2 through 4, maybe even 1 through 4, depending on what lineups are out there for the opposing team. And I like Shireman a lot. They're both 6'6". They both say they weigh 205 pounds. But to me, Jordan Walsh just plays bigger. He plays that he has a longer wingspan. He has more athleticism to him. So I do want to see Jordan Walsh get a little bit more consistent minutes. Obviously, we'll see how he plays over these next few games if he does play against Orlando. But based off his performance last night and getting some meaningful minutes and really taking advantage of them, and the unknowingness of kind of what this team has off the bench right now, it's going to be a lot of whoever is playing well in the moment is kind of going to get those minutes moving forward. And Shireman hasn't delivered on the minutes that he has gotten. So I would like to see Jordan Walsh get a little more playing time moving forward, see what he can bring to this team defensively, see if he can knock down some shots, get in a rhythm offensively, and just kind of gain that confidence while being on the court. So last night did get me excited about Jordan Walsh. I want to see him play. He's only 21 years old. Shireman's 25, so Walsh is younger. And again, I just think he can help out in the rebounding game as well. And that's where I'm at with the Shireman versus Jordan Walsh talk right now. And we'll see. I mean, Shireman is a great shooter. He's picked up some great ball handlers in the minutes that he has gotten. But just seeing how Walsh played last night, 7 points, 7 rebounds. I mean, that's where this team struggles the most right now, is rebounding the basketball. It's a fundamental thing, but in the NBA, to be in games, you have to rebound. That's why we lost to Utah the other night. If you want to win against mediocre teams, you have to rebound the ball. You have to take care of the basketball. And I think just Jordan Walsh helps this team a little bit more right now than Shireman does. And so that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I agree in every aspect what you said, and I think to take it a different angle, in my opinion, Walsh has more upside than Shireman. I mean, he's got the length, he can shoot it, like you said, he can defend, and in a season where we're not necessarily competing for a championship, we're not necessarily as good as we have been in the past. To me, Walsh is a guy that if you do give valuable minutes to, if you do try to develop him now, you give him those minutes to allow him to take advantage of it and improve his game and get comfortable within the NBA. Because let's be honest, these last couple of years, he hasn't had an opportunity to really gel with the Celtics, to be in the lineup, to get those opportunities playing against NBA level guys. He just hasn't had that. And so giving him that opportunity to play against these teams and get comfortable in a role on the NBA stage, I think you give Walsh those minutes instead of a Shireman who's 25, who's older, who, in my opinion, doesn't have as much of an upside. I'm being completely honest right now. It sucks, but this team to me is just not an NBA. It's not an NBA championship team, and so we got to think about the future. We got to think about when Tatum comes back. That sucks to say, but it's the truth. Sorry if I'm stepping on toes. I'm sorry if I'm hurting Celtics fans' feelings, but that's the truth. And so, how do we set ourselves up for the best chance to be a successful team in the future? And in my opinion, Walsh, a guy that's 21, who's got length, he's got height. Let's put him to work. Let's utilize him, and let's see where he can go.
Yeah, and I want to say one thing too, is because I think the Boston Celtics have been so aggressive towards a championship, and we've seen them be such a competitive team in the past that, we haven't really seen the development of their rookies to what we expect, and I'm going to throw names out there as in JD Davison. He's a guy where I think the development with him was poorly. He didn't get a lot of time at the NBA level. And, that could really play a difference. Now, obviously, the Boston Celtics held on to him for a while and they have him play in your G League, but you're not really going to see what a guy can become unless he gets minutes at the NBA level. And, that's one that we can't suffer over and be like, all right, well, JD Davison could have been this great player, because in Houston, he's not even proven.
I was gonna say he's not doing
Right.
much over Houston. Like he's
Yeah.
got in 2 minutes towards the end of the game against the Grizzlies team, and 0.0. I mean, he
There,
to me,
but
I don't want to go into this discussion because we've
had
definitely
this. We've
had it. We've gone into it, but he just is not
I just
NBA
think,
caliber. But I understand what you're saying,
yeah,
though.
I just personally think, the Boston Celtics haven't really had the best years to develop their rookies.
No.
As in, I think the best one that they had was Baylor Shireman last year. He got a lot of minutes, and that's a guy that you could really see what he can do, but he's gotten minutes this year and hasn't been able to do a lot. Jordan Walsh is another guy where he's gotten minutes time in and time out, but this is a guy where this is the year to see if you want a player or you don't. And I think this is where you let him go out there and let him play time, because let's be honest, we're 4-5 right now. And I think you said it, Quinny, that we're not going to win a championship this year. I'm sorry to break it to you guys if you guys think we're going to win a championship, but it's
That is,
just, it's,
hey, I want to. Yeah, that is a painful statement. Though I'm not gonna lie.
it hurt
Apart from
me.
like playing the sport, I mean, we all play basketball. We all are competitive guys. Like that sucks to internalize, and you don't even want the Celtics team to internalize that thought. But
And I
it's
don't
just,
think they do.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. But as media people, like you have to have some level of realism in this space, and you got to throw a spade for spade, and unfortunately that's just the truth.
Yeah, and another thing is, like, we're talking about developing these young guys. You only develop young guys when you know that you're not going to be that competitive. When you have a solidified roster full of veteran guys that have been there, done that, like the Celtics have had the past few seasons, they don't have much time to develop these young guys in NBA games, right? That's why you see Jordan Walsh in the G League in Maine. That's why you see JD Davidson, Baylor Shireman. Cato was in the G League a few years ago. And the Maine Celtics have had a lot of success because of how built this Celtics team has been, where they kind of send this younger talent down to the G League, and they're very successful down there. But obviously, that's a whole different game. It's a whole nother level when you go up to the NBA. Everybody knows that. But it's kind of been a blessing and a curse that we haven't been able to develop these young guys. But it's only because we had such a solidified top 8 guys that you knew were going to contribute to winning, where the only way to develop these young guys was in practice or in Maine. So, yeah, that's my take on that.
And I like what you said there. It's a blessing and a curse. It's in some ways it's a blessing because now we're getting to really pull out that potential from guys that we drafted that we did have faith in. And now we're just going to see. We're going to get it over with now. There's no more waiting. we're going to see if Jordan Walsh is capable. We're going to see if Baylor Scheim is capable. And if they're not, we're going to move on. And in my opinion, you gotta make lemons and turn it into lemonade. You gotta find a way. You just gotta make something happen. You gotta work with what you have, and you gotta do everything possible to just make this season the most advantageous it can be. Whether that's winning a championship or falling a little later in the standings, the Celtics organization right now needs to say we're gonna take advantage of the season one way or the other. And
Yeah,
that's where they're at.
and my question for you guys though, if you were Joe Mazzulla, do you play Jordan Walsh a set amount of minutes every night? What's your roadmap look for Jordan Walsh if you're coaching?
I don't think there's any set amount of minutes for really a lot of guys on this team besides, the top 5 and Simons and Hauser. Besides that, I think Missoula's just going with what's the energy on the court, who's providing the most for us right in this moment. They had 11 guys play in the first quarter last night against Washington. Why did they play 11 guys? Because they were struggling. Missoula was looking for a lineup to give them energy, to give them a spark, to play harder, to play the way he wants them to play, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to see that all season long. And hopefully after a certain point, we'll see, some bench guys solidify themselves more, whether that's Jordan Walsh, whether that's Luka Garza, whether that's Tillman, whether that's Boucher. I mean, I can go – but whether it's Shireman. So we're going to see a lot of that from Mazzulla, and I think he's done a good job of it. I mean, he's really coaching this team hardly. I mean, at the end of the game, the Celtics had the game in the bag, and he was getting on Keita late in the fourth quarter. He got on Minot late in the fourth quarter. So he's pushing these guys, and he's trying to find different lineups that are going to work for the games they're playing in that night and for future games down the line.
Yeah, and you got to realize, too, that developing a player – means that they got to go through some struggles. They're not going to get the minutes right off the bat. No. And giving Jordan Walsh a set amount of minutes, he's not going to try to go out and earn them. I mean, Joe Mazzulla's got to coach him the way that he's coaching all of his players, because in that moment, then Jordan Walsh is gonna develop. He's gonna understand what he wants from him. He's gonna play more aggressive. He's gonna play like he wants to earn these minutes. And maybe Jordan Walsh hasn't got those minutes in the past, and now he's kind of looking at himself in the mirror and saying, man, I gotta grind. I gotta figure this out, because my career is at a kind of crossing of roads. I gotta figure it out. And so, yes, Joe Mazzulla should give him some more minutes, but also if Jordan Walsh is not producing, he's not producing, man. And it's simple as that. There's got to be a standard no matter where you're at in the season.
Yeah, and I think that comes to the point where Tommy said too, if he shows he's giving energy and he shows he's eager to play, that's how you improve your development too. Because, teams, they have trust in players and they want to develop them into good players. However, it's willingness. It's what you put forth the effort as well. If you show you want to get better and develop and become a good player, then you do it. Other than that, you just... Sorry about that, you guys. But other than that,
I thought Halloween was over, dude.
I know. I jumped. But no, other than that, though, you kind of, if you're not going to put forth effort, then you're not going to get developed. That's just how it is. So that's kind of how I see the map. How if he wants minutes, the minutes are out there. Go get them. But
that's a bar right there. Yeah, they're out there, man. So.
Especially this year. I think that's the point we're trying to get across. Yeah. Like, this is the year to show that you want to put forth energy and, be on that court. You want to develop that. This is the year to do it. This is the year. Yeah. But my question is now with Baylor Scheierman, because we just talked about him a little bit and we saw him play a significant amount of minutes when we got blown out by the Rockets. But one thing I have to ask you guys is the ups and downs with Scheierman now, because, Jordan Walsh looked like he had a great game last night. So we're talking high about Jordan Walsh, and Baylor Scheierman looks like a roller coaster. What do you think his development it looks like moving forward? And Tommy, you mentioned it earlier. He's an older rookie. He's not like Jordan Walsh. He's not young. His window is like right now. He's the same age. he's a year younger than Anthony Simons, so his window is right now. He's going into his prime. I mean, how does a player like that become into a key contributor on the NBA court? Because I think he's older, and it's like he spent so much time in college. Do you guys think he still has it in him, or where are you guys on Baylor Shireman?
I think Quinny said it really well earlier. It's just about upside. Like, where do you see Shireman's upside compared to other younger guys that are on this roster? Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, kind of guys that are playing the same position as him. And I just don't know what Shireman's upside is. Like, yes, he's a great shooter. How good is his defense? We don't really know. And what else does he provide to the Celtics besides just being a shooter? I mean, I don't really know. I don't know. He doesn't seem to have much of a mid-range game. He's not that quick off the dribble. And at this level, these guards are it's just such a physical game and such a fast-paced game that the Shireman thing is tough for me.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just not good enough, or maybe we'll see him get more comfortable once he starts hitting some shots and the game maybe opens up for him a little bit more. But from what I've seen from Shireman so far at this level, I don't know how much more improvement you're going to get out of him based off his age and based off his play style. And so it's tough for me with Shireman, man. It really is. I don't want to put any player down in a way, but
yeah.
It's the NBA, man. It's a tough business. It's the best basketball league in the world for a reason, with the best athletes in the world. So, it's no knock against Shireman or anything. It's just what I've seen on the court, and how much do I see him improving and growing as a player? I don't know how much, to be honest. So, I hope I'm wrong, but, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what Tommy said. You don't want to put a cap on a guy. Obviously, you want to see him succeed in the NBA. But from what I've seen in recent games over the course of this season, and even past seasons, even in the past season, yes, he performed, but a lot of those games were games late in the season. We're playing crappy teams. They're in games where there's blowouts. I don't know. His athleticism, in my opinion, is not on par with NBA players. He doesn't necessarily create a shot. Like he can't really create his own shot. And his 3-point shooting is good. It's not Sam Hauser level. It's not Max Strus level. And what I'm trying to say is the NBA is a league of specialization. You have to have a specialty in your repertoire that you perform day in and day out, that it's in your bag. Like what are you known for? Pat Bev is known for his defense. He's going to do that to a T. He's going to give you that every night. Tatum can score. Obviously, that's a bad comparison because he can do it on multiple levels of the game. But what I'm trying to say, though, is you need to have a specialty. And I don't think Shireman stands out in any category. And to me, that's a problem. And you can find other guys that stand out in categories, unlike a Shireman, for similar money, in my opinion. And I just don't think that he has it in him to be a guy that's going to give us a huge impact, especially if we're competing in the playoffs down the line. I just don't see him in that role. I really don't.
I wanna kind of argue back with that a little bit. From what I've seen last year, and he's kind of showed it. And again, he's played in garbage minutes. He's played on blowout games or games late in the season, so you can't really count any of that. But one thing I do see from him is hustle, and he's eager to play. He's eager to win, because I am having this flashback from one of the plays last season where, it was against the Nets, but he hustled all the way down the court and tried to save the ball. And it's just that effort.
Yeah.
He's willing to put effort. But
I agree. I agree. But the thing is,
like older, so it's like it's not.
Yeah, but effort is awesome. It's an awesome thing to have.
Like you were talking about. Yes.
It's an awesome thing to have. It's so important. You need guys across the entire league to have effort, intensity. Want to pick up guys full court, dive on loose balls. But in this league, if you don't put the ball in the hoop, if you don't perform on the offensive end, if you don't do those things,
Defense, yeah.
you're not going to be in the league, because there are guys that do both. And that's the plain truth. And unfortunately, right now, Shireman is not doing that. And the NBA is a cutthroat league. And I think this is probably his last season, in my opinion, where he's going to kind of
Yeah.
prove to the league who he really is.
Because the thing is with Baylor Shireman too, you have to think about this. He's 25, so it's like, would they prefer a 25-year-old that's better than him, or would they rather, and Seamus mentioned this a while ago, so shout out to Seamus for this, but a lot of the times the Celtics like to go with the unknown rather than the known. Do you go with an unknown guy and do you pick up someone who's unknown and kind of go with him? Because that could be an option too. Because again, he's 25. It's like, how much more can he learn and develop? Because he's kind of, at the point where it's like, all right, where do we go from here? I do like Shireman. I think there's a lot to his game that I do like. I like his, like you said though, Andrew, it's not character traits that stick out. Like, he's not a guy who's a specialist on defense. He's not a guy, we thought he was a sharp shooter because he was sharp shooting against teams with bad defense last year. So he doesn't really stick out. And I want to say maybe he's in a slump because, we've been seeing him struggle since summer league. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but do we? Do we? That's the question.
Another thing is, like, you can only have so many guys that give you the same, like, specialty traits. Like, what is Shireman really good at? Shooting the ball. Well, we already have a guy that is really good at shooting the ball and doesn't give you much else in Sam Hauser. And that's not a knock against Sam Hauser, but you know what you're going to get from Sam Hauser. He's a knockdown three-point shooter. He's going to either give you 15 to 18 points off threes, or he's going to give you 3 to 6 points off threes. And maybe he'll get a few layups and foul shots in there as well. But you can only have so many of those guys on your team. You like, that's what makes a good team become great, is being so well-rounded. So I feel like Shireman blends in with kind of a few guys that we already have solidified in our rotation, like a Hauser. And, we'll see how the other young guys get integrated in there as well as we move along here. But that's kind of my thing with Shireman, is he's just not going to outperform a guy like Sam Hauser, who's more proven for this team and just has more experience.
Yeah, it just comes down to upside, man. That's where it is. That's where the NBA is at right now. I've seen it talked about across multiple different podcasts. GMs are looking to draft the young guys that can grow into a role, and these old players just aren't cutting it. And you even see that with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Look how young that roster was, right? I mean, not many old guys on that team, not at all. No, not a lot of veterans, very minimal. It's like these guys are just so much more athletic coming into to the league. They're more skilled, maybe not as, maybe the IQ sometimes isn't there. They're the X's and O's, but it's just, you want to compete, because if you can't tell me a guy like Shireman, he's obviously young in a sense, but in NBA terms, not as young, and competing against a guy like the Thunder, it just makes sense. The league is just getting younger.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing, bouncing off of that, Quinny, is kind of looking at the standings in the East right now. Like, you have Chicago 6-1 at the top of the Eastern Conference, and Kobe White hasn't even played yet, and he was one of their best players last year. And Chicago's an extremely young team.
Yeah.
Detroit, another one. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference right now, extremely young. They got a little bit of playoff experience last year. Cade Cunningham continues to take leaps forward. Jalen Duren's taken another leap forward this year. So you're seeing these younger teams like OKC, like Detroit, taking these leaps, quicker than fans expected, due to their development of young players and, stocking up in draft picks and drafting the right guys and developing the correct way.
Yeah, and it may not be as relevant to like Shireman, but because he is still young, so he can still withstand an NBA season. But you have young guys that can run up and down the court. They're youthful. They're energetic. They haven't faced many NBA seasons before. Their bodies can handle this run and gun, heavy defense run and transition offenses that the NBA is transitioning to. So that makes it even more important to invest in guys that are athletic, that can run, that can perform at a high level at a young age. And I think that it makes sense. And even the way guys, I think we're going to see it too. And I've seen this on the podcast. I think it was Gilbert Arenas talking about it. The way that these guys move, like the way they physically move, is so much more athletic. It's so much more demanding on the body than in the past. And obviously, you could debate that, but these guys are just crazy athletic, springy, explosive. The way their body's moving, it's tough to it's getting tougher to withstand that throughout an entire career. I mean, we have outliers like LeBron and Horford and these guys, but you just if you can
LeBron and then Al Horford.
and then Al Horford and no, that's different. That's obviously different.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with that, and it's simple as that. It's like this is a business. Guys are going to invest in younger players who are cheaper, that bring more upside, that give them more money, that win championships. That's it.
And this is my thing. I believe the Celtics drafted Baylor Shireman because he is an older player, and they thought, that's a guy who has experience. And at the time last year, the Boston Celtics were looking to compete for a championship. So they're like, can this guy help us right now?
Yeah.
Like, that's because, with him, it's like, all right, less time developing, more NBA ready. And I don't know if you're going to get that from Shireman because he hasn't proved it yet. And it's
I have
like,
a question for you, Griffin. Like,
yeah.
say today Shireman's gone, we cut him. Are you emotionally, are you like, oh damn, are you like, damn, we just lost Shireman, we're screwed? Like, I don't think
No,
so.
I don't think we're screwed. It's the emotional attachment. I saw him develop in Maine.
Yeah, but it's very easy to move on to a guy like Shireman, I think. Like,
yeah, it's
they're not losing sleep over Shireman.
It's like with Drew Peterson, for example. Was I upset for a minute? Like,
man, that's low key disrespectful, bro.
No, it's not disrespectful. Because look,
maybe that's where we're at.
But I looked at Drew Peterson and I was sad. Yeah, I enjoyed watching Drew Peterson in Maine, but it's like, did it really affect us? No. Like,
that's just kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with Baylor Shireman. I feel like, it's kind of, he needs to prove something now. Like, we can't keep waiting. It needs to happen now.
Yeah.
And a question I have for you guys now is about Joe Mazzulla, because, we've talked about Joe Mazzulla, and geez, I think a couple of nights ago, we almost gave him a Celtics Nation. Well, I almost voted him for Celtics Nation Rise MVP. But my question is, what are our thoughts on Joe Mazzulla this year, and how has he done, coaching a non-championship winning team? And what is your thoughts with, and obviously Brad Stevens is involved with development and everything, but what's your thought on how he's been playing these young players, and what's your thought on his coaching? Because I want to throw one thing out there. Chris Boucher, who looked like, at times we were like, oh, maybe he could be our starting power forward. He's had a few DMPs from now. And there's guys like Tillman who, it looked like he was giving him playing time at first. And, in Detroit, yeah, his whole family was there and they didn't even play him. So it's like, what are we seeing with Joe Mazzulla? What are your guys' thoughts on his development? And do you guys think he's done a good job coaching this year? But what are our thoughts?
I think he's done a tremendous job so far with this team. Since the beginning of the season, I feel like every time we do a recap, every time we do a podcast, the main thing I'm talking about is what are his adjustments going to be from a game-to-game standpoint on starting five and just rotation as a whole. And every single game, it's a little bit different. And I feel like in the preseason, we were all thinking, Boucher can contribute, be an energy guy, maybe be our starting power forward. But then we saw Minot take advantage of the minutes that he got early on in the season. And I think for now, he's really solidified himself as our starting power forward. Mazzulla's done a good job at plugging and playing with different lineups. He played 11 guys. I'm going to say it again in the first quarter last night, because that is so rare to see in the NBA in this day and age. Like, especially in the first quarter. Maybe you'll play 8-9 guys and maybe bring in a few more in the second quarter. But 11 guys in the first quarter is something I don't think I've seen in a long time, maybe ever, watching the Celtics games. But Missoula's done a great job. He's making adjustments. They're not living and dying by the three as much, besides that Utah game where they shot 11 of 51. That was brutal. And they started off 0 for 6 or 0 for 7 last night. But we're seeing guys like Jaylen Brown get to the mid-range, get to the paint, being more efficient. Same with Pritchard. Pritchard is not just relying on his three ball. He's getting to that mid-range, using his body, creating that little bit of space to get his shot off against defenders. So I think Missoula's done a great job of switching up his coaching style a little bit. Last year, they were a drive and kick team, shooting a lot of threes, a lot of transition shots from three. And then with this year's roster, it's just that's not going to cut it. You don't have the same floor spacing with Keita in there and even Minot. It's just a different team, and Missoula's done a good job of giving these young guys minutes and opportunities to show what they have. We've seen like a guy like Jordan Wall step up and play good minutes last night. Hugo Gonzalez has come in and given this team sparks in a few games. We see the rotation change on a nightly basis. Sometimes you see Tillman more, sometimes you see Garza more, sometimes you see both, depending on Keita and his foul trouble. So I've been really impressed with Missoula. I think the way this roster has been constructed, it's not an easy job for him this year, like the past few years. And he's coaching guys the full game. Like last night, he was getting on guys late in the fourth quarter when the game was already out of reach and the Celtics had the game in the bag, but he was still coaching them hard. Like it was a close game. And that's what you want to see out of your coach. You never want to see a coach let up and ease off on his players, especially when you have a bunch of young guys on the team. He's setting the standard. He knows what he wants from his guys. Doesn't matter what the score is. Doesn't matter the time of the game. He expects the same energy and execution for the entire 48 minutes. So I've been extremely impressed with Missoula so far this season. And I've been tough on Missoula in the past. His first season, I was calling for his head. I wanted Ime Udoka back.
Yeah.
But Missoula's done a great job with this team so far.
Tom, are you one of the timeout guys?
I was one of the timeout guys. Why are you using a timeout? Why are you using a timeout, man?
I understand, but these guys in the media love falling on the timeout train. They love calling Missoula out because he's not calling timeouts. But there's never. There is obviously support but that's a common criticism. But I'd like to see them move on from the timeout and just and try to find different ways to go at him. But Missoula, I'm very, very pleased with. I think in this season so far, there's been a couple of times where the Celtics kind of fall behind. They give a team a lead, but they find ways to respond. They find ways to get that lead back and not let the momentum really run away from them. I think, like Tommy said, he's doing a good job at staying engaged throughout the entire game, getting on these guys, setting a standard for the team, even if they're not as good. Maybe it's not the same team they've had, but there's still that Celtics Joe Mazzulla standard day in and day out that he's making them follow. And that's all you can ask for. There's always room for improvement in X's and O's and obviously calling the timeouts. I thought he had one game where he called some great timeouts. We did talk about on the recap.
Yeah.
Pritchard got trapped. He called a nice little timeout, gave him an extra possession. There has been some good timeouts this season. And I think what the Celtics fans need to understand, what the league needs to understand, what the media needs to understand, this is a different team for Joe Mazzulla. It's not as good of a team. And yes, some of it falls on Missoula, but some of it just falls on the team itself and where their talent is and where they're at as a team. So it's a team sport. You can put a lot of blame on Missoula, but when it comes down to it, everyone from top to bottom is the catalyst for a successful season.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think he's been doing a great job bearing the situation that the Celtics are in. And, I still love his intensity. He's still bringing it every night, whether, and sometimes with coaches, and I haven't really paid too much attention to this, but I feel like, when you lose your team and you go from having a championship team to a, a team that's, not going to be so competitive, you kind of see their identity change, but he's still so eager to succeed, and his intensity is immaculate. The other night when he ran into the ref's face saying, timeout, 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 and like almost fell over people, like that's the intensity I love to see. And he's going to have a bright future in the NBA with a coaching job because he's phenomenal. And I think
a bright future. He's already got a bright future.
Yeah,
he's in his future. He's in his future.
I want to say one.
He's going to be an old coach. What
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah. If he can sustain that energy, we'll
wild.
see. We'll see.
One thing I want to quickly add about Mazzulla is how he handles the media. I mean, they'll ask a question and he'll say it so straight face, and I'll see like these little compilations of Joe Media like on TikTok or Joe Mazzulla on TikTok. And just like the way he handles the media and his like seriousness, but he's also not serious at the same time. He takes no shit from anybody. He's not like Bill Belichick in a dry sense.
Are
like
you sure,
that.
Tommy? You're getting flashbacks of Belichick?
We won't talk NFL on here. But I just love the way he handles the media, and he's just very straightforward and honest with everything he says, and he doesn't fall into any traps with the media. So I think he does a great job at how he handles the media in Boston as well. I just want to throw that in there because I love his interviews, and I love Joe Mazzulla, man. I'm a truther for Joe Mazzulla moving forward.
That gave me a thought too. A true leader is one that takes all the blame, takes all the criticism of your team, and takes on the chest and says, "That's my fault. I made that mistake. We're gonna move forward together as a unit." And I think Joe Mazzulla does that a lot of the times where he deflects media questions. He doesn't talk about his players. He doesn't talk about what they're doing wrong in the media. He doesn't put blame. He doesn't point fingers. He just says, "That's my bad. We'll fix this. We're gonna figure it out." Or he just doesn't answer the question and doesn't give it the light of the day. And that's what you need to do in a 82 NBA game season. A team's gonna make mistakes. They're not gonna be perfect. They're not gonna win every game. And so how can you as a coach not let the players focus on the past, on what happened, and how do you put the players focus on the next game and in the games following?
Yeah, well said. I mean, like I said too, I think he's talented and he's funny to watch. I mean, geez, if you guys haven't, go to YouTube and look up Joe Mazzulla compilations and you'll get a good chuckle out of it. 100%. Whenever I need a good laugh, I look that up. But
also, I was thinking about too, Joe Mazzulla was one of those guys, like, I don't want to see him on the other sideline. I don't want to play, right? He's got that mentality that he's going to instill in his players, and you don't want to see him on another sideline, in my opinion. So if that doesn't, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with that sentiment. So if that doesn't show you a little something about not only his character, but the quality of a coach he is, then I don't know what you're missing.
Have you guys ever seen Uncle Drew?
Yeah, that was I went to the movie theaters for Uncle Drew a long time ago.
This is who Joe Mazzulla reminds me of.
I don't remember it that much. It was a long time ago.
So the coach, like he's like crazy and he's going, "I'm playing mind games with you," and he goes like crazy like that. That's what Joe Mazzulla is. He's just like psychotic, and just his mindset's just gonna beat you. And or even the water boy, like he's the guy that's like, I don't know, gonna give the other team some havoc. You know the scene where he's like seeing heads on everything? That's what Joe Mazzulla is doing. Like, people are gonna be seeing Joe Mazzulla's head and they're like, "Oh, geez, I don't want to mess with this guy."
Yeah, he's just doing he's doing the right thing. He's doing what he has to do, man. He's bringing back a lot of passion to the game, to be honest. Because I think the NBA, to be honest, like, you want to see sometimes I want to see a little more aggressiveness. I want to see players be a little more mad at each other. I don't want to see this, "Oh, what's up, man? How you doing? Let's go out after this game and get a couple drinks and let's go," all those things. Let's go to the strip club and all that. And like, it's like, dude, screw off, like, I'm going to have my team. I'm going to do my thing. I'm not going to hang out with you. We're coming to win a basketball game, and we're not playing any games, right? And
Yep.
I think Joe Mazzulla brings that mentality to the NBA, and I love it.
Yeah, and I know we're getting into a Joe Mazzulla like remembrance or whatever, like he left. No, he's just funny. I remember when Charles, the assistant coach from the Boston Celtics, he's now with Charlotte, and when he was like, yeah, Charles tried to come in here and give me a hug, he's trying to play mind games on me. That's sickening, or something like that. And then when they asked about his brother coaching in Utah, he just completely avoided the question. And that's what I love. He brings intensity. He's focused on the game.
Yeah,
But
he loves the game.
I do have another question for you guys, and this one might be way too early to answer this, so we can go yes or no, or even pass if you guys want. But this early, do you guys think the Celtics' identity has already been found? I mean, the Boston Celtics are in 10th place. Do you think we stay in 10th place for the remainder of the season? Do you think this is kind of where we're at? Are we a middle of the pack team, kind of, or are we like low 10, like around that? Or do you think we could have a chance? I mean, Bulls in first place, and do you guys think we have a chance to kind of rise up, because we look competitive at times, but other times we we look like a 10th seed? But what are your guys' thoughts? Has our identity been established yet?
I don't think that our identity has been established yet, but I do think that parts of our team that we had questions about have been answered, and that starts with Jaylen Brown. He has been everything and more that the Celtics need from him this year so far. He's been the only guy that's been consistent. It's felt like every game on both sides of the floor and just production-wise. So I think this team is still finding their identity with, how are they consistently going to win games? You see them struggle with rebounding. You want to see them turn teams over more and get easier looks in transition, because this team isn't a great half-court team. If they get slowed down and have to play in the half court against teams, I think they're going to struggle in that a little more than past years, just due to, Tatum being out, of course, and not having as much spacing with shooters. So I think the more this team can turn the opposing team over and get easier looks in transition, whether it's layups, dunks, or kick out threes, and they have to rebound better. So I think they have struggled to find that identity still. But something that is key for me is this team can't fall behind good teams early in games. They have to, keep the game close going to the fourth quarter. If it's a 6-point game, 7-point game with 6 minutes left, let's see if they can make a run and win the game. But this is not a team that can go down 20 points in the first half and fight their way back into it. It's just they don't have the talent to do that consistently this year. We saw it in New York. They had that terrible second quarter where they got outscored like 42-14 or some crazy number like that. And they fought in the second half and cut it close into single digits a few times, but you see them run out of gas. They're putting in so much effort, picking up full court, that they're missing shots short on the offensive end. So for this team to rise in the standings, and I think they will. I don't think they're a 10 seed. I think they're, they can fight for a 7, 6, 5 seed towards the end of the season. But for them to do that, they have to be a better rebounding team, number one, and they can't get behind to teams early in games, because it takes a lot for them to kind of come back and withstand that deficit that they get themselves in early on in the first half.
Yeah, I agree. I also like what you said with rebounding, creating turnovers. There's a lot of that is in their control. They can find ways to rebound better. It's not like you can't rebound. It's not like you can't work together. That's kind of where they're at. And so just finding ways to improve their rebounding, work on in practice, get better at it. Like that's something that is not out of their control, right? And that's something that is important to note, because that means they can improve on it. That means they can get better. And to me, to everyone, that's been such a big reason why they're losing games. And rebounding to me is a lot of times effort, energy. It's putting a body on, it's technique. It's not just, wow, this team's better at it. So the Celtics can improve on that, and that gives a lot of hope. So there's a lot of things that they can work on, and I think that's going to allow them to kind of move a little higher in the seeding. I don't think this team is going to be bottom of the barrel.
No, I agree. I think we really won't see what this team is till closer to All-Star break. That's what I'm personally seeing. I think there's still a lot more that Joe Mazzulla wants to kind of test around and kind of go up and down and see like what lineups he likes. Because again, Minot's been getting the start, but that's a guy that who knows? Like he could be up and down. Like that's a guy who, like I said, right this year, I love having him start. But like, when Tatum comes back, that's a guy that I'm gonna love to see come off the bench. And so I really think again, I'm gonna agree with you guys. I had them in my predictions in the 6th seed. I think they'll get up to there, and I still see that. I don't see them a 10th seed. I think it's early, and I think we see a lot of teams are out of order. Like, for example, the Magic, they're out of order, and there's teams that I think are kind of gonna slip. So like I don't let's be honest. If we could fast forward to the last game of the regular season, the Bulls aren't going to be in first place. All right, maybe I'm wrong, but like the Bulls won't be up there. Maybe they will. Maybe they will be a good playoff team, but I don't see them being this 1 seed.
No, it's so early, man. We're what, 7 games, 8 games into the season. Like, you have a long season. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be teams that make moves at deadlines.
Strength of schedule too. Sometimes, like who are you playing? And you'd rather, to me, it's kind of like a basketball game. Some guys, you shoot lights out. You have like such a high percentage beyond the arc. You make all your shots in the first half. Guess what? Most likely you're gonna come down. You're gonna even out. You're not gonna be able to shoot that well throughout an entire game. That could be the same for teams, right? You start off hot. You're playing well. You're doing well. You're feeling good about yourself. But the moment you get on a little losing streak, can you take the hit? You're gonna face adversity, right? So are the Bulls, when they get on a losing streak, because it's inevitable, you're not gonna win all these games. When the Bulls get a losing streak, are they going to be able to bounce back? Are they going to be able to return to what they were doing before that losing streak? I don't know. So there's a lot of still unanswered questions with all these teams across the league, and so we really don't know. And so to me, the Celtics starting off not so strong, that means that there's still room for improvement. There's still some level of upside, that there's still potential in this season. So it's not something to worry about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any more thoughts on that, Tommy?
Nah, I feel like we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, well, I want to move on to this one now, and I believe both of you guys said this about how Jaylen Brown has really solidified himself as the number 1 option for the Celtics, but we're still in a continuous issue, with Derek White not performing up to what we expect. Anthony Simons, I believe, still hasn't performed to what we expect. Who do you guys believe can be the number 2 option on this team? Because it's still an unsolved question. And what do you think?
I think we're going to see it be a little bit of a few guys. We've seen Pritchard kind of step up and be that second guy that play makes and scores when the Celtics are in need of that. And I think we're going to see Derek White get it going. I mean, he's too good of a player to, be putting up the numbers that he's been putting up so far in the season. He hasn't gotten it going on the offensive end yet. He had 8 assists last night, which was good to see him still impacting the game in different ways. But I don't think we're going to see one guy be, our second best player. I think it's going to have to come from everybody. I think some nights it may be Simons off the bench who can put up 20, 25 points. Some nights it's going to be Derek White, who's going to have more efficient shooting nights and get to the rim and get fouled and hit tough threes. And then I think sometimes it'll be Pritchard. But I think it is key that they need someone to step up consistently behind Jaylen Brown. And the Utah game was one where it felt like everybody besides Brown wasn't able to score the ball. And for them to win games, it's the NBA. It's a high-scoring league. It's an offensive-based league now. I think it's just going to have to be a combined effort between everybody. And we'll see kind of where we can get production more off the bench scoring-wise besides Simons. And, Hauser hopefully gets it going here again soon. But maybe it'll be Luka Garza who can become more confident, knock down a few threes. He's got good touch in the paint. He's got a good post hook shot. So we'll see. But Jaylen Brown has definitely solidified himself as, capable of being the 1A guy. We know how good he's been throughout his career here, but, we definitely have some questions about without Tatum in the lineup every night, what can Jaylen Brown look like? And he's looked exceptional so far this year.
Yeah, I'm not even going to necessarily go too deep into it because you said it all. It's an all hands on deck type of year. That's how the Celtics have to go about it. You just gotta, as Joe Mazzulla is doing, plug and play, see who's going, see who's not, and let's just ride the hot hand. And that's what we have to do this year. I mean, that's better than most, like when you can know that you have a little bit of depth where there are guys that can put the ball in the hoop that can produce. So that's it. That's all I got for that one.
Yeah,
What
I
about you?
agree. Oh, you go, Andrew.
No, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I honestly agree with you and Tommy. I think there's multiple guys that could be in that category. You have a guy like Anthony Simons who hasn't done what we expected to get from him from the Drew Holiday trade. You have guys like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White who are expected to have high scoring games. And why not? Why can't we add him in there as well? I mean, he's a
Yeah.
guy who had 22, I think, last night, and that's a guy who we could put up there as well. There are so many guys on the Celtics team that are more than capable of being the second option. And I agree with you, Tommy. It's going to be more of a mixed match. Like one night we're going to see Anthony Simons maybe put up 20 something. Another night we're going to see Minot do it, Derek White, and but one thing I do have to say, I think, once Simons figures things out and once Derek White figures things out, if they are able to, which I'm sure they will, I think more so you're going to see them being the number 2 and 3 option potentially. But again, this is a very random season, so it could be anyone. But again, I think Jaylen Brown has solidified himself as the number 1 option.
Definitely.
So we're getting to the point in the podcast where we're about to close out, but we have the upcoming week predictions. So, Andrew, I will have to say this season we've been pretty rough with this. Like we haven't really hit anything. I think we'll hit the ones right, but we have to really put on our wisdom caps. And what were we saying last night? Tommy is like bet. So Tommy, I think you are.
This is not our. We're not throwing out bets right now.
No, we're not.
If you have listened to our picks, we're sorry, and we'll just,
Yeah,
you guys throw out picks before we haven't even put out any picks yet, or you just mean like
we just mean our like predictions of the season.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, maybe this is where we turn our corner.
Yeah, maybe we start off with a.
We'll do a little pregame show, and we'll do a little 3-leg.
We should definitely do that. Let us know in the comments if you want us to do that, because I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be good, and we'll ride some. We'll create a little group chat. We'll ride some bets and see. Make the Celtic season interesting, right?
We'll do it. We'll do it.
We want to get if the Celtics don't necessarily win a night, we can still say we won. So that'd be.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
But yeah. So the schedule for this season.
I'll give you the schedule for this week till we're on next Thursday. We have the Orlando Magic twice in a row, and then we play the 76ers and the Memphis Grizzlies, which game I will be at. Woo.
Hey.
So what is our predictions till
then? We'll have to get you live from the stadium.
I was thinking of every time I'm somewhere where it involves Celtics, even Disney World, go check out that vlog after you're done with that. I always try and manage to get content, so we're gonna have some Celtics content. Don't you worry.
I think should be in the stadium and go live on the live stream.
We might have to. We might have to. But Tommy, we'll start off with you. What is your prediction till the next time we meet?
Oh, my prediction. Well, I think we will split the 2 games against Orlando. So that puts us at 1-1. I think Orlando is kind of in a similar position to where the Celtics are right now. They had a good season last year. We saw them in the playoffs. A very physical team, a very young team, and a team that is going through some rough points right now. They added Desmond Bane this offseason. We haven't seen that fully transpire into what I think a lot of fans were expecting. But, I mean, it's early in the year. They've only played 8 games. I think Orlando's going to be a great team this year, and they're going to be a tough team for anyone to face in the first round of the playoffs. So I do think we split with Orlando. Philly, again, we play Philly 3 times this early in the year, so we won't probably see them for a while after this game. But I'm going to say we lose that game in Philly, unfortunately, just because we got the last one, and I think Philly's a good team this year. VJ Edgecombe looks fantastic, extremely athletic, and score the ball from all 3 levels. So I'm going to say at this point we're 1-2, and then we're going to win against the Grizzlies. They've had a rough start to the year as well so far. John Morant. Don't know what's going on with John Morant, but he is in a whole different mind space to where he was a few years ago, where he looked like one of the best players in the league. So we're gonna go 2-2, and hopefully it's 3-1. But I'm gonna go with my prediction as 2-2. But I hope they prove me wrong.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 2-2 as well. I think
Same games.
Yeah, same games. Because I think the Magic are kind of like a volatile teams where they could beat you, and the Celtics could have a bad game. Like the Magic are better than Utah, right? And
I mean, the Magic are better than what their record says they are. That's
100%. And I think this Magic are physical. They can tire out the Celtics team potentially, and the Celtics beat them in the playoffs, right? Last year, there's gonna be a chip on the Magic shoulder, and as much as you want to give them the win, it's one of those games. It's one of those teams where the Celtics could definitely lose. It's not out of the question in those games. So I'm gonna give the Magic at least one, and then Philly. You know what, Philly though? I know we're playing away. We got their number. We beat them in that other game. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say we get Philly. I'm gonna say we get Philly. Yeah.
I like it, man.
It's not out of just like Celtics, fandom. I just think that we can match up against that team. We can I think Embiid is slow. He can't really run up the floor very well, and I think we can kind of run out in transition, get some easier buckets, leave Embiid in the dust. And the thing is, when Embiid plays, I think they're worse because I think they can't. Yeah. They're slower with Maxey. They're slower with. They kind of put a cap on the amount of running that sometimes Maxey and VJ Edgecombe can do. And maybe that's a bold statement, but I definitely, it depends. I think Embiid can be playing well, but I'm gonna say we get the Sixers, and we're gonna get Memphis as well. So that's
I love it. I am gonna go the same route that you were going to go, but I'm gonna go the same route that Tommy went. I think we take 1 to Orlando, lose 1 to Orlando. All right, and to be really specific, I think we're gonna lose the first one, get them on the second game. And then, with the 76ers, I don't think we end up winning that one. That's one where I could totally envision us winning that game, but I just don't see it happening this round. I think we split the season series, but I don't think we get this one. And then I believe we beat the Grizzlies. And I hope we beat the Grizzlies. I'm gonna be there. Jeez, might as well.
Oh, yeah.
And some good
better
money.
Be a good luck. Good luck. You're not hopefully not a curse.
Yeah. So those are our predictions. Comment down below what your predictions are. We might as well. And
yeah, definitely let us know.
Yeah. With that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. And make sure to go check out the recaps and go subscribe. And we will see you guys with the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace, guys.